Wow, that's really interesting. In fact, when you mentioned She Kills Monsters, I thought that'd be a great little mini case study here. So if you were teaching
Mhm.
teachers, which you do,
Yes.
how maybe some do's and don'ts when it comes to doing stage combat in She Kills Monsters. What are some of the things that float to the surface for you?
So I've done that show 3 times. I did it once in my home, high school theater, and then I did it once at a university theater and once at another public high school. I think and I think that I know the last name of that playwright is Nguyen, but I don't know if the first name is I think it's Chi. Is that how you pronounce Qui in Vietnamese?
Yeah.
Chi Nguyen. Um, really writes some stage directions that are hard for non-stunt people to perform. So like and maybe in the revision it's not there anymore, but in the original script and the Young Adventurers script, when they first encounter Farrah the Fairy, which I love that scene. I wish I could just show you the scene that I did at my high school and make that the interview. But it says, like finishes Agnes with an Aikido style flip. I'm like, that's so I think it would look cool if you had a cast who could do it, but you would need, trained martial artists and stunt people, not just who also can act, which, the John Wick franchise has made sure that they have all those people right now. And it's a hard thing to get. So I would say don't, as with many stage directions, you need to modify them to fit your space and you need to modify them to fit your cast. And the worst thing to do is to do a bad pretend complicated maneuver, right? There's nothing wrong with the Fairy finishing that fight if you have limited space or limited physicality in the performers. With a Three Stooges style poke in the eye or a nose pull, right? It doesn't have to be this kung fu vision. I think when I did Monsters, I used authentic weapons, not sharp, obviously, but we had real steel swords, we had bow stabs, kama blades, right? And the other 2 productions did the sort of LARPing foam style weapons. And I would say it's probably worth it to use steel and make your fights shorter if you don't have the cast or the choreography ability to develop large scenes than it is to use the LARPing weapons, just because the audience reads it so much differently, right? And I had Lilith was using a kobith or a kobish, which is the Egyptian forward curved sword, has a half moon blade, and Agnes or no, not Agnes, Tilly was using a katana.
Mm.
And right, so just the look of those weapons as opposed to a foam weapon, even if they don't ever do anything with them, right? Just like to flourish them is really cool. And we had a couple scenes where I taught the performers how to throw sparks on purpose off the blades. So they're, and the audience reaction to that stuff, because it seems so dangerous.
Yeah.
We rehearsed for hours and hours and hours and hours. I had one student who broke a finger who didn't tell me. Always have your cast tell you if they experience an injury. But for all the hours and hours and hours of rehearsal we did with steel weapons, that was the only injury. And the audience reaction to metal on metal or wood on wood versus foam is just so much better. And it's fine to have a short fight. They can be 3-4 moves long. You don't need serious or long minutes on stage. And the other thing I think that would be good for Monsters is to have a mix, right? Because to recreate the sort of Dungeons and Dragons wish fulfillment, someone who came to see the show that I did afterwards said, how come you had Japanese and Egyptian and Chinese weapons in there? Dungeons and Dragons is English medieval. No, it's not. It's Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Yeah.
You can have a werewolf with, you know, laser claws fighting a traditional knight, you know, like,
Yeah.
so just creating, just like me, stage combat is also like stage design, right? Build stage pictures, make sure that you have a set that has levels, it has interesting angles and colors. And if everybody on stage, unless you're doing, I don't know, Aida, and everybody is an Egyptian soldier who needs to have the same kind of weapon, like the more visually interesting the armor and the weapons that you put in the show, the more the audience has to process, which, right, increases their interest and their investment in the show. But yeah, the LARP weapons, and I get it. You don't want to have people get hurt. So also, if you're going to do monsters and you don't feel confident in weapons choreography, find someone who's trustworthy. And it turns out not everyone is. The reason I got the university gig for She Kills Monsters is the person they'd had originally hired came in and did no safety training and just kind of handed out weapons and told the people to play around and figure out what felt good.
Yeah.
So I think, like everything else in theater, it's like shopping for a car. Don't necessarily contract with the first one you come across, and don't be afraid if you think you got a lemon to take it back.
Right.